Oh, hello everybody. Oh, seamless tonight. It's working, Drew.
Oh, we would have been here earlier, ladies and gents, but John got red on him.
John had to go and change his shirt because he had tomatoes spilt all down the front of it. So
you just didn't play to the Shaun of the Dead.
Very good. Yes, very good. It's been a long day today, mate.
I fed you the line and you failed.
I'm sorry. Like I said, I've been up since the whatever this morning. So anyway, how you doing?
I'm
how you doing, Drew?
Yeah, not too bad. It's all you.
Yeah, fine. A bit hot and bothered.
Yeah, apologies to people, but we've reached that stage of the year where I have to have a fan in the corner of this room now, because as the evenings get longer, the sun actually comes straight in at me in this room in the evenings, and I end up sweating like well, let's not go there.
I've got a question for you, Drew. Is it my imagination? Because we're only something like about 5 weeks away from the longest day of the year, rather, and then obviously the nights start drawing in. Is it my imagination, or are the nights really not lightening up around about 9 o'clock at the moment? Usually they should be much lighter than this, but they just seem to be very dark.
Yeah, it's certainly kind of quite dark by 9 o'clock at the moment, isn't it? But
yeah. Let's throw it out to the comments, folks. What are your impressions of the British sunlight at the moment? Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't know about you, but we had round about 4 o'clock this afternoon. We had an ongoing thunderstorm, just thunder.
No, we had nothing but sunshine here today.
No, we had sunshine. But it was just thunder, thunder. But there was no lightning, no rain, and then it went away. So
no, we've had nothing but sunshine. Dreadful.
Yeah. Juan Francisco Molinido says, "Good morning. Hope you were able to watch the Northern Lights."
Completely passed me by, I'm afraid.
I did wake up to try and see them the other night, and went out into the garden. Not a sausage, not a Robbie sausage.
I read an article on this a while back, and a lot of the time you have to have a camera on a long exposure to even catch them. They're not even that visible to the naked eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people show all these photographs of how glorious they look, but they're long camera exposures. With the naked eye, they're apparently a lot less obvious. I don't know if that's the same if you go up north of, in the north of Finland and places like that. I suspect it'll be a bit more in your face, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But
I tried my best, but like I say, 2 nights in a row, that was it. I was out for the count. So do apologise, Northern Lights. We have got Dave Fleming says, "Come north." Oh, hang on, he says, "Come north. Not dark until after 10."
Yeah, and if you go a bit further north in Scotland, as it goes on, it gets sort of nearly midnight before there's still light in the sky at midnight and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, sometimes forget how northerly we are.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, I mean, if you look at us compared to places even like New York and places like that, they're so much further south than we are.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. Big hello to everybody. We'll just do a quick run through to say hello to everybody who's tuned in at the moment. So hello to Damien Mullen, Jim Altegott, Sean Smith, Lee Suter, Vincent Murphy, Nick Brown, Kev Tinker, Kitchen Table Modeler, Rally Chef's Model Shed, Russell Taylor, Theron Hampton. Sounds like it should be a Victorian actor, shouldn't he? Ladies and gentlemen, Theron Hampton. Sorry, Theron.
I say, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, Mr. Mark Ryan, Greg Woodbridge, Bruce Bell, Dave Fleming, Philip Jones, Davros Halfbeard, Shane Weir, good day, Shane, Juan Francisco Molinido, Jet Scale Models, Wayne Beatty, John Huston, Mike Williams, hello, Mike, Rory, some guy called Rory, I think you might know him. Simon Lewis, Paul Adams, Ian Goldstraw, Steve Parker, Michael Scott, hello Michael, Philip Jones, John Connolly, Adam Cooper, Neil Armstrong, goodness me, Neil Armstrong.
From beyond the grave.
From beyond the grave, absolutely. That really is one small step. Anyway, right, Drew, do you want to talk about your modelling projects first, or shall we dive straight into?
Let's have a chat and just dive in and see where we go. I mean, all I've been doing is an Invader this week. We'll cover that when we get round to it.
Okay. Right. This week's news, and I think it's fair to say that this week's news, although there was a model show at Shizuoka, surprisingly little information coming.
They're kind of, I mean, the thing is with Shizuoka over the last sort of 9-10 years, it's become a bit of a gnab gib, hasn't it?
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's like there's not really much happens that they're worth devoting serious time to. I mean, I can remember in the sort of like late 90s and early 2000s, the excitement would build because it was, you know, everybody was announcing lots and lots of stuff. The Japanese sort of enthusiast model market, I suppose we should say, is quite moribund these days, isn't it? It's like, you know, Hasegawa not doing anything, Fujimi out the market. It's just you're waiting to see if Tamiya announced anything. And to be fair, Tamiya haven't announced anything we didn't know about already, have they?
Okay, well, we'll dive in then with Tamiya. Tamiya's main aircraft announcement at the show was their 1/72nd scale F-35B Lightning II, which comes hot on the heels of their F-35.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, that, you know, we knew about this a month ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's you know, it's like, and I as odd as it may seem, I don't really. Tamiya are so international now that I don't really think of them as Japanese. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
they're so universal and international that whilst they are based in Japan, I mean, all the tooling's done in the Philippines, isn't it? So, it's like almost like they're visitors to Japan for the show.
That's an interesting observation. That I think it's fair to say, Drew, that this kit may feature in yours and mine's modelling diet over the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get my hands on one. One way or the other, I will get my hands on one. There's no doubt about that.
Sure, that's going to happen one way or the other. Yeah. So on the we'll come to the schemes in a minute, but on the Tamiya stand, they had this British. I'm tempted to say Royal Air Force, but obviously these are kind of pool aircraft for the RAF.
No, let's be clear. It's Royal Air Force.
It's Royal Air Force. Yeah. So there's that one, and then they include a rather nice stand, very airfixy stand, I thought, but they include a nice stand. Of which the Spanish one, the U.S. Marine Corps one is posed on, so you can have everything kind of out and down on it. There is the Spanish one, Italian. Sorry, God, blimey, get my brain in order today. That's just a flip side of the Italian one, and another view of the Italian one. Then we start looking at parts breakdown, and they include 2 landing gears. So
I mean, again, this is more or less a direct sort of read across from the 48 scale one that I built 5-6 months ago. You know, all this is directly read across. You know, the posing, the stands, the landing gear choices, all that sort of. You know, that was all in the 48th, and in the 48th one as well. So So sorry, I've just MacBooks just decided to throw a wobbly. There we've got some more of the parts breakdown for the internals. Yeah, I mean, it's necessarily a lot more complex. The F-35A was very much simplified from the 48 scale one.
Yeah.
This is necessarily about as complex as the 48 scale one was. This is more of a direct scale down of the 48th one than the 72nd one was. Than the A was. Sorry, not 72nd. The A model one was. This feels like more of a direct scale down than that.
But yeah, it's interesting to note there that they've done the fuselage and wing as a single piece, which I think they did in the 48 scale kit, didn't they?
Yeah.
So we've got a new paint.
I have to say, of everything, this is what I'm probably most looking forward to.
Yeah.
the two new camouflage greys that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're doing them in the. Oh God, get your brain into gear, man! Come on, they're doing them in the lacquers.
They're doing them in the spray can and the lacquer.
Lacquers. Yeah,
lacquer pots.
Again, just some lift fan doors and the variable area vane box nozzle. So there we go. And again, they're I mean, that's absolutely brilliant the way they've done that lift fan. Just really, it's Tamiya. We come to expect this, don't we?
I mean, if there was something that was a bit sort of dodgy, we'd be surprised, wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And as for schemes, there we go. So we've got US Marine Corps. You've got 3 US Marine Corps rather, British, or as Drew likes to call it, RAF, and the Italian one at the bottom. Drew, you and I are. Let's just suppose you and I are asked to build one of these each. Which scheme are you going for?
Well, I mean, of the 2 F-35Bs I've built for the hobby company in recent years, I've done one in Italian and one in RAF. So I kind of feel duty bound to do one of the US Marine Corps ones this time around. And of those, I would probably like to do the 121 Green Knights, because they were they were an intruder squadron, I think. So
okay.
It would be I think I feel almost duty bound to do a US Marine Corps one this time around. So
I quite fancy the look of the Italian one.
Yeah, well, the Italeri one I built a couple of years back, I did as the Italian one, if you remember. I've kind of avoided the US Marine Corps one so far, but I think I need to get with the program and do one.
One observation that I saw from these photographs of the British one. I'm just trying to see if I can find the pictures again. It would appear that the built-up model at Shizuoka had roundels on both wings.
Yes.
Which, as we know, is the British aircraft now go for the American presentation, which share screen. There we go. That's my that's the Italeri one that I built 4 years ago, Drew. 4 years ago. But that was I really enjoyed that project. I was thinking about this today. Sorry?
In the before times.
In the before times, yeah, exactly. I was thinking about this project the other day, and today rather, and I thought to myself, it was just one of those ones that it ordinarily wouldn't interest me. But Andy Farmer gave me the box and said, "Do you fancy building one of these?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go on then, I will." I absolutely loved it.
The only fly in the ointment for me is the continually providing decals for an RAF aircraft without an RAF loadout. How much would it have cost to tool a couple of ASRAMs to go under the wings rather than sidewinders?
Yeah,
I was interested to see when the US Marines deployed to the Queen Elizabeth for the cruise, what stores they take with them, and it looks like they took all their own stores, because the US Marine Corps ones were flying with sidewinders, and the RAF ones are still flying with ASRAMs, and their own specific stores. I'd wondered if they were, because they're exactly the same aircraft, I'd wondered if they were going to standardise on stores options while on board ship, but no, they took their own stores with them. So,
yeah, Mike Williams says, come on, mouse work. He says, the wonderful thing is that being Tamir, you just know it will be an absolute joy to build from start to finish.
yeah, absolutely.
And then he spoils that by saying whispers, they all look the same. Michael, really? The thing is, I see again is I've never really until I built one, I didn't really appreciate the F-35. Having now built one, and I'm become a little bit of a fan of the aeroplane, or
I'm
a little bit of a lift fan of the aeroplane. But there we go.
I'm a massive fan of the aircraft. I am.
Yeah.
That comes from research, really, appreciating what it brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great aircraft, and dare we hope that Tamiya is going to follow up with a C model and complete the family.
I get the feeling they probably will, Drew.
That would pique my interest more than just about anything else.
Yeah, Russell mentions new Thunderbirds kits announced and the Dark Star from Top Gun Maverick in.
Yeah, a company I've never heard of, but they've announced a 1/100 scale printed Dark Star and also a 70-second scale injection molded plastic one. And in the background of some of the photographs was the fire flash or whatever
from Thunderbirds. Yeah,
Thunderbirds. So
I'm just going to our Facebook page to see if I can grant. No, it's not our Facebook page. It's our Facebook group, because we've got a public group now, which I'll talk about towards the end of the show. No, it is on our page. Come on, man. Come on, brain. Oh goodness me! Yeah, they're doing the Fire Flash. Obviously, they're doing all the Thunderbirds vehicles as well, international rescue vehicles, I should say, and they're also doing the Firefly. As far as I can tell, it's the Firefly rescue vehicle. Here we go, Russell Taylor.
They're
doing the
FAB.
You what? Sorry.
FAB,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, here we go. This was Russell's post, and I'm sorry we're presenting this from Facebook, so it's not going to be great quality, but there we go. Yeah, fire flash in the background and the lifting vehicles and some of the other international rescue equipment as well, and exit full screen. There we go. Let's get to the next picture. And the next picture isn't working. Never mind. It's going to be one of those nights tonight.
Moving
swiftly on. Yeah, but they're doing a Thunderbird 1 as well. And the Thunderbird 1, they have molded it with the exhaust plume effectively acting as the stand. So I thought that was a nice touch. I'm determined to find that blessed picture. You can tell it's OCD corner tonight. No, Facebook's lost it. Bit like me. But yeah, and I know. And also, we had some. We've got news from Modelsvit. So, do you want to? Should we jump into that, Drew, or shall we have any?
We can jump into that.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Modelsvit are very much in flux at the moment with what's going on in their hometown, so to speak. But it's another ambitious program, isn't it?
Well, they've relocated to Bulgaria, by all accounts.
Oh, right. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Plovdiv. That's a concert town as well. That is Plovdiv. That makes sense. I suspect that as soon as they can, they'll be back to Ukraine. Because Mini Art have moved to Poland for the duration, haven't they? So yeah, it kind of as sad as it is, it just makes sense at the moment.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. You know, it doesn't mean I don't think of them as entirely Ukrainian just because they're operating outside of a war zone at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we've got. I was going to say what caught your eye there, but I think we've got 4 biggies to talk about, haven't we?
It's just, I mean, the one that really catches my eye, if I'm honest, is the AN70. But yeah, I mean, the two Marias there. Bear in mind, folks, these are 70-second scale.
I was going to say, there we go.
These are absolutely gigantic models.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Ken Duffy, who I haven't seen for a long time. He built one of these in 70-second. And yeah, it was every bit as big as you think it was. But releasing it with the Baran on top as well is a bold statement, shall we say?
As Julian and Sandy used to sound round the horn. Aren't they bold? Yeah, they certainly are bold. But yeah, they're also doing the Tupolev 144, the Concorde ski.
Yeah, the IL 96, 86 or 96, is it?
Yep, and yeah, that's.
I mean, I'm assuming these are going to be similar to the previous ones in that they'll have the glass fiber reinforced fuselage and stuff, with numerous sprues of detail parts. But yeah, it's oh dear. I mean, it's way too big for me. But having said that, the AN70 catches my eye. That's a really nice aeroplane, which again was proposed for the Russian Air Force before it all fell apart, so to speak. But yeah, there's the other stuff on there is just sort of slight reissues with new bits and bobs in there, like the blinder with the missiles and the mystics and stuff with stairs and whatnot. So yeah, but that's a lot of acreage of models. That.
Yep. So. We will skip on to the next page, and
so this looks like this is A&A, isn't it? Or A&A models, whatever. So yeah, I mean this is very much a mixed bag. You've got the C141 Starlifter there, which I think is 144 scale. That's the A model, which I believe I'm right in saying is loosely based on the Rodin kit with new sprues for the short fuselage.
Yeah.
And then you've got another couple of giants there in 70-second scale, IL-76M and an AN-22. Just massive aeroplanes. But yeah, I mean, what else we got on that page? We got the. I never realized it did a Hell one. I'll just get an eye out for that. But yeah, new stuff. The Mix Masters were previously announced, but obviously stuff takes time these days from them for obvious reasons. The Mirage 4 with ASMP missile. That Mirage is a terrible model, if I'm honest. I ended up throwing mine in the bin. Not a great. The A&A are like A&A and Sover M, that they're kind of like what Modelsvit used to be, because Modelsvit came from A model. So these are very, very much more rough than the glorious stuff you get from Modelsvit these days. They need a lot more input from the modeler, shall we say. And again, there's other blind. See, we're back to Modelsvit now, so you've got to keep an eye on what they're doing, on what page we're on. Yeah, so there's new parts for various models there. The Mirage G8 in single and twin seater variants. I think that's now due in September, if I'm right. stand by because I'll be getting.
Yeah, sorry, I'm laughing, but we now go over to our Mirage correspondent.
Yes, there will be a degree of excitement in the air when they get released, because well, it's a beautiful aeroplane, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's an absolutely beautiful aeroplane, and two fitters there. I think M4s. They're M4s. I thought they were doing M3s as well, but it might be the export variant with the. I think it's they have the Tumansky engine. Or is it the Russian ones have the Tumansky engine and the export ones have the Lyulka? Anyway, whichever way around, you get a different rear fuselage for the export variants because it's got a fatter engine. So
I'm just zooming in now. They're both M4s.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check my fitter references again. But the things like the Polish and the Russian ones were from Russian indigenous manufacturer, and they had an engine which was quite slim. And the export ones, I'm sure it was the export ones had the Tumansky, which is basically the same engine as the Flogger. Mm-hmm. And it was a bigger, fatter engine. And it required different contours around the rear fuselage. So you have to know which variant of the fitter you're modelling from which country before you sort of jump in with the very late models, I should say. But yeah, they've done a lot of fitter kits.
Yeah, didn't you get the Mirage 2000 prototype kit?
4000.
Am I misremembering something?
What, the Mirage 4000? You mean?
Sorry, the 4000.
Yeah, I've built one, John. I've built one.
Yep.
I've built it. Yes, because it's a thoroughly beautiful aeroplane.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Skipping on to the next page, we've got looks like they're doing another Hawk 200 variant, but we've got some Sky Raiders there, and we've got a pair of come on, I can't read what it says on the screen here.
What are you on about, John? The Black Widows?
Top of the screen, yeah.
So you got two variant. They've got two F-15 Reporter.
That's it, F-15s, yeah.
And also an XP-61E, which is basically a Reporter airframe configured as a fighter.
Yeah.
Again, there's models I'm looking forward to because the Reporter saw service sort of like on the fringes of the Korean War, and was based in Japan in the late 40s. And as you can see, it's like a Black Widow with a bubble canopy and the P-61C engines and stuff. But sort of after the war, prop aircraft, as they moved to jets so quickly, these aircraft fell out of favor quite quickly, and they became very difficult to maintain. So I know there's stories about the trouble keeping them flying, even in the only a few years after they were made. They couldn't get the spares and stuff, and they were very unreliable. The Sky Raiders are variants of a kit I can't remember the manufacturer now, from a couple of years ago. I've got one of them downstairs. It's okay, but it's not brilliant. It's a sound base for further work, I think, is the best thing to say.
And they're also doing a pair of Maulers there as well.
Yeah, I think that's the old Ace kit.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is sort of 20-odd-year-old tooling now, which is actually really quite basic.
Okay.
It's easy to forget how far we've come in such a short time with these companies, and it's only when you see some, I guess, what you'd call throwback toolings that you realise how far we've come. The Basler and the Troy whatever they're looking very, very nice actually. The BT-47 or whatever it is, the basically a Dakota with turboprop engines.
Yeah.
But they're looking very, very nice, I have to say. But yeah, these are all just. This is like one step behind. This is like what Modelsvit were like 10 years ago when I first came on the scene. So be prepared for more work. Odd to see a Phantom there, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder whether that's somebody else's kit they've retooled. I'd have to go on to ScaleMates to have a
But this
peruse.
is a lot
on
of 144th scale.
Oh yeah, 144th. Yeah.
And some of the nice little drones down the bottom there, which very interesting. A bunch of IR80s, but this is all stuff that seems to come and go, and doesn't really get a lot of publicity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the stuff like the I can't really read it, John. It's so small.
No, this is the problem. I've got the images up here. I've actually got the original images.
Should show these in super high res.
No, and it's not brilliant. Even the ones I've
no,
got
the original.
here.
I looked at the originals yesterday, and they.
Yeah.
Theron Hampton there says, "Can you talk about the 109s on page 10?"
Okay, we'll go back to the 109s on page 10.
So there's a BF 109T there.
Yep.
That twin.
Oh, the Zwilling one, yeah.
The Zwilling one. Again, I think they're just they're quite basic. Quite basic toolings. A bit older. But if I'm brutally honest, I can't really talk about them because I don't know anything about them because I've never really paid any attention to them.
They're both 48 scale as well, which is
no.
noteworthy.
I assumed they were 72nd. I didn't realise they were 48. So it'd be interesting to see what and whose they are.
Yes.
But unfortunately, Theron, I can't really talk about them too much other than pointing out there they are.
There they are in the catalogue.
Like you've kind of there's the XP72 down the bottom, which is a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is I mean, Halberd have just released an absolutely gorgeous resin conversion, and then that is there as well. So they're doing a new tool one. Just looking back, somebody said, "What Mirage 4 is better, Hella or
Yeah,
IM?"
that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, in 72nd scale. Basically, the A&A is a Hella kit with roughly rescribed panel detail, shall we say. So it's, I mean, to be blunt, if I was going to get involved in a Mirage 4, having had that A&A kit and thrown it in the bin because it was so rough, I'd probably find a Hella one and rescribe it. Although I haven't said that, Modelsvit are doing a 48 scale Mirage 4, and as that's Modelsvit, which is the high end part of that company, they're doing that. You know, Modelsvit, that'll be one of the biggish Modelsvit 72nd kits. So if you exclude the giants that are different sort of manufacturing methods, so yeah, the 48 one, I suspect that when that eventually surfaces, the Modelsvit 48 scale Mirage 4 will immediately be the best Mirage 4 that's ever been tooled in any scale. I'd be very surprised if it isn't. So yeah.
And we're on to pages 13 and 14 here, and
so this is Sova M, which is another, yet another sort of variation on the theme. And you've got all these Embraer based Intel, AEW and maritime surveillance and various surveillance platforms there, which look really nice actually. But again, being Sova M, they're like another next step rougher again, if you like. So you've really got to be up for a challenge, shall we say, to want to put the effort into these, which is a shame because they do the Fairchild T46 there, which I'd love to have a crack at one of those. It's like the A10's little brother, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just looking at that on down that. Yeah, I was just having a look. T46A light jet trainer. Yeah.
Yeah,
it does look attractive. That. Okay.
Yeah. But it's when they were sort of like in the 80s when they were looking at replacing the T37 and they wanted something that was still side-by-side seating, and that's what Fairchild came up with. And it came very, very close to production, actually. It was sort of one of those last-moment cancellations. It was very, very close to entering production. So, yeah, it's an interesting... It's an ambitious program from the sort of Modelsvit stroke A&A strokes over M. I don't know why there's three separate companies, or whether they're purposely doing it so that people will sort of draw the difference between the standards of what you can expect.
I was going to say it's a little. The catalogue is a bit jumbled up because you've got Modelsvit on some pages, then it goes over to A&A, and then you're back to Modelsvit again, and it's just a little bit, it could be a little bit clearer. Ian Goldstraw says,
I think they're 144 scale, Ian.
No, it's 72nd scale.
Is it 72nd?
It is 72nd scale. Just calls.
Because I know they did release them in 144 scale back in the dark mists of time.
Yeah. Let me just call up the page a second. I'll just do a share screen here. I wish these were a better resolution, because it's a real pain dans la derrière to have to kind of go and grab these. Window. There we go. Yep. Right in the middle there. Can we all see that?
Yeah, 72nd. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And they're doing a Spanish version as well. Which
in that case, I know nothing about them. It'll be interesting to see what they're like when they're released. Because I thought they were, because I know I'm pretty sure that A model at least did them in 144th scale back in the day, and it wouldn't be, wouldn't surprise me if they sort of recycled those toolings. Which I presume they've still got access to. So, yeah, there we go. That's not a bad little program.
Not a bad little program from from three companies that are currently having their country bombed out of existence. So it's
not to get too political, but let's get political. No,
no, please.
We've flown our flag quite clearly.
Absolutely,
Ukraine, and will continue to do so.
Yeah. Russell Taylor says, "Did you mention the Belfast 72nd scale Dark Star?" We did, Russell. Pics on your FB page, right? Bear with, because I'm just going to go and just going to dive onto our page again. I couldn't find the images, Russell. It's one of those tricky things that you're trying to find something on the fly. And here we go. I think I found them. See, I spoke too soon there. Right. Facebook's buttons aren't working tonight. It's really frustrating. Here we go. Right. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. 72nd scale Dark Star from Top Gun Maverick. And that, by all accounts, is going to be an injection molded kit. So
yes, interesting looking design.
I
mean, the rumours continue to circulate that this is about to be unveiled officially in the United States, but as with most of these things, it's got the same kind of feel as the F-19 and the MiG-37 from Teslas in the late 80s. It's thoroughly whiffing, based on something that might or might not appear at some point, and might or might not look anything like this. But it's interesting enough as a platform that, I'm not disinterested, put it that way.
Yep. I'm also, whilst I've got the page up, Russell has reminded me that he did post some images of the new Thunderbirds kits that are being done. So this is the thing, is that for some reason, when you go to scroll on Facebook tonight, it's not working. It's really frustrating. I'm hitting the scroll button. So anyway, right, here we go. Thunderbird 1, and that does look FAV, doesn't it? And I do apologise. I thought it was a smoke plume. It's not. It's a stand, but it's resting on an international rescue badge, which I think is a nice touch. In terms of a display stand. So I thoroughly approve of that.
Lightning wings on that, wasn't it?
Sorry.
Lightning wings on that, wasn't it?
Ish, yeah. They didn't.
That kind of notched delta.
Yeah, I was going to say they didn't kind of appropriate, kit parts to build that. These are all scratch built, and they were all a massive scale as well. So here we go. Here are some more of the Thunderbirds kits. So there, like I say, you've got Fireflash in the background, you've got the lifting body, and you've got the Firefly rescue vehicle, and you've got TB2 there as well. Then, God, this is such a painful way of trying to share images. This. Then we've got Fireflash, which was featured in the pilot episode, kind of like a super Concorde. Needs more engines. But yeah.
Thing is, I've seen that pilot episode so many times.
Yeah.
And however hokey the special effects look today,
yeah,
they still managed to impart a sense of scale.
Yes. Absolutely.
They still managed to make you think that was an absolutely enormous aeroplane.
Yeah.
It was really
Yeah, carry on.
The best at it's what they did. It's just you can look at it and you can chuckle at the special effects and all the rest of it, but the sense of scale was always there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you go back to that pilot episode, the way that they did the rolling road for the lifting bodies. So they had the it was like the runway was on like a conveyor belt system. It just went round and round in circles. Then they had like a background, a moving background. It was like a cyclorama. But how they combined the two so that it genuinely did look like these vehicles are kind of bombing. It was absolutely brilliant. But it was all innovative. It was all stuff that Derek Meddings and co. They were making up as they were going along. And there we go. Perhaps the most popular vehicle from the show, Thunderbird 2. It was always my favourite.
Yeah, it was always my favourite. It was just...
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting. This as befits the interesting modelling company. So we'll wait to see what these are like. So Drew, workshop projects. What have you been working on?
Well, I've had the ICM Marauder turned up a few weeks ago, and I don't want to start it until I've got a few bits and bobs for it, just because I fancy doing a nice job of that, So I've been looking. I've had the Counter Invader sat on there for about since the before times, more or less, since when it was originally released with the
ICM kit.
Yeah, the ICM Counter Invader. And later on, there's a few sort of 3D printed sets come out, and I had the Quinta set from the before times. So I just started playing around with this last Sunday, and so I've spent kind of the week getting this to sort of this stage. Although there's a lot of all of the other sub-assemblies, the engine nacelles and wings and tail and stuff, they're built as well. But there's a 3D printed replacement nose there. To the nose on the actual kit is about 6mm too short, so somebody's done a 3D printed replacement nose, which, as you can see, is actually a pretty spectacularly good fit. Once it's plugged in place. So I bought that. That's available on Colts 3D. So I bought the pattern. I bought the STL from Colts 3D and printed it myself. So that's I've got printed. He's also done wheels and stuff. But yeah, it's got the all the Quinta interior stuff. So you can see all the throttle control levers and stuff on the center console. They're all individual parts, and seat belts, and there's all this padding inside the fuselage halves, which I don't know if you can see that. All this padding along the cockpit walls and stuff. That's all Quinta stuff. All of the radio faces and stuff like that, and this sort of panel in here is all Quinta. Again, more Quinta seat belts. But after I got all that installed, I then set about weathering it all, because it's Quinta stuff looks great, but it's very clean. So if you want it to go in, you need to sort of blend it in with what you're doing otherwise, if you know what I mean. So that's had extra weathering done after it's been applied. And then over the last day or so, I sort of brought the fuselage together and started sanding out. I did add a lot of reinforcement to because the bomb bay is going to be closed. So all of the interior stuff here has been pretty heavily reinforced with dental resin and CA, just to give it a lot of. It's extremely sturdy, shall we say now, with all that in place. Because I'm a clumsy modeler and I like to over-engineer stuff. And what I was fiddling about earlier, I nearly snapped off one of the wing spars. So, yeah, quick little bit of advice. So that's just a piece of 1mm plastic sheet glued in at 90 degrees to the super glued in at 90 degrees to the spar. So the spar will still slip over the wing, but it just means that is now, you know, a really sturdy assembly there. Whereas you can see all these are floppy. That doesn't move at all, whereas that is very, very floppy. And there's like as much lead as I could get in the nose here. So yeah, let's just say it's very, very heavy. It's
Mike Williams says it's a cracking kit. I really enjoyed building my Invader.
Yes, I've got a stash full of these because I really love the Invader anyway. So, but yeah, that's about a week's work, and like I say, all the wings and stuff. But I sort of, whereas you read countless magazine articles where everybody says, as usual, I started with the cockpit interior. You know, I don't do that. The first thing I do when I sit down with a kit is I spend about 3 or 4 hours just gluing sub-assemblies together. And then I put them all to one side, so they've all had a week or so to dry while I've been working on the cockpit, which means that I shouldn't get any ghost seams or anything. So it's just the first thing I do is to sit down and spend a few hours just gluing as many sub-assemblies together as I can. In one sitting, and then I start on the interior. So I started this.
I'm the same. I start on what I call the boring stuff first of all, so that when like you say is that when you've actually you get around to doing the cockpits, you've then got all the say it's like stuff like wheel halves and engine nacelle halves and stuff like that. They've all had a good kind of like half a week or so to cure.
Well, yeah, I started this on last Sunday. So actually, I started. Last Sunday I started it, and it was Thursday before I started putting any paint on it at all. So I'd spent all that time just getting sub-assemblies together and refining bits and sort of building as much of the interior as I could before the Quinta stuff started being added. But if you play it right, like all these instrument panels and stuff, I've had various oil and enamel washes and stuff just to blend them in better.
Mike asks a question. He says, does that reinforcement on the wing spar not interfere with the fit of the wings?
No, it doesn't, Mike. I've already tried it because it's in between the spar like that. You can see the spars literally the grooves that it goes into on the wing don't come any. In fact, wait there just a second. I'll go and get the wing. I'll show you. Oh, hang on. I nearly walked off with the mic.
The microphone plugged in. Yeah, done that before. I've done that. I've got up and I've suddenly watched the MacBook start to follow me out of the workshop, and it's just that sudden kind of rush of cold blood of just like, oh, not again. But yeah, he's back. Here he is.
So yeah, let's just plug that on again. There we go. So let's get the right one. So yeah, there's the
oh, it's hollow.
Hey,
yeah, the wing is hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just goes into those grooves there. There you go.
Yep. That fit is tight, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
You could almost add that last of all, couldn't you?
Well, my plan at the moment is to do most of the paintwork with it in bits, then bring it all together, and then touch in areas that need paintwork before I start modeling. Before I start weathering. So yeah, I mean, I will probably reinforce the rest of these wing spars going forward, just so that they're all. But yeah, there's a
beautiful, absolutely stunning.
There you go.
That's the business, isn't it?
That's how you want it, isn't it? That's how you want it. But yeah, hopefully I've got enough weight in the nose. But and it's not an enormous aeroplane either. It's, you know what I mean? It's substantial, but it's not massive, is it?
It's a fabulous looking machine, though, isn't it?
Oh, it's glorious. It's just like it inherited so much from its little brother, the Havoc, Boston, didn't it? In terms of layout and shape, it's just a big Boston, really, isn't it? At heart. But yeah, I will probably be getting the tailplanes on and everything, and I'll paint the fuselage and then the wings separately, and then bring it all together, touch in any areas that need touching in where the joints are being made, and then we can move on to sort of weathering it, although these all seem to be in fairly decent condition.
Yeah. Theron asks, I'm sorry, but which kit is this? Theron, it's the 1/48 scale ICM A26 Invader.
So yeah.
There we go. Mike's answered it. There we go.
So yeah, hopefully I'll get this through to completion in a couple of weeks, and then I'd like to do the Marauder, but I do want to get some toys for it, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
I think it's worth the it's worth the effort of getting some bits and bobs for. So I'll wait a bit.
Meanwhile, on my workbench, well, we are obviously well into the P34 challenge at the moment, and I have been working away on various bits and pieces this week. So we have got the engine pretty much built. And this is part of the, I'm not going to say the problem with the kit, but it's one of the things with this model is how much you have to paint before you can start gluing a lot of stuff together. It's honestly, Drew, you've got to try building one of these to realize just what a logistical, not nightmare, but they require a lot of thought. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so we'll get you building a car at some stage. But anyway, I got the engine block together, and we've got some more bits of the engine. The body shell, I was slightly worried about how thin these parts were, so I ran some super glue on the inside, and as you can see, I've reinforced it with liquid gravity, which, folks, if you haven't got any of this stuff, it is brilliant. You got some of this, haven't you, Drew?
No, I don't use it. No,
you don't use it. Okay.
Well, as you can see on mine here. Well, you can't because it's yours.
No, okay, there we go. Yeah,
go on. But yeah, as you can see on mine, I use CA and dental resin. Actually, let's get the actual. That's decanted. The actual dental resin I use is. That's the actual dental resin.
Okay.
I use, which I had to get from a dental supplies house online, and it worked out, including postage. It was about £30 for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I suspect that's all I'm ever going to need.
Mm.
I don't think, you know. I mean, I decanted some into there to spray it so you control how much you're using.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it makes an incredibly strong reinforcing material. It's the stuff that Paul Budzik uses.
Yes, I was just going to mention Paul Budzik,
which is, you know, where because he's a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to track down where I could get this from. But yeah, it's just an incredibly strong reinforcing material.
Does it heat up when it's curing?
Not noticeably.
Curing?
No, not noticeably. I mean, there's a little bit of an exothermic reaction, but there is with all of these things with CA. But nothing to speak of. Yeah.
There you go, folks. We learned a new word tonight: exothermic reaction. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So I've braced that and just given the seam a little bit of a clean up, but I'm gonna let that sit for at least another week or so before I even begin to start thinking about putting any paint on that. Same with the body, with the body shell. A little bit of cleanup needed here to get rid of the screw stubs. And again, I will be going through my Infinity sanding sponges to take this right down to a nice polish again. Oh God, these these exhaust pipes. Oh, what a bind they were. They just float. You've got to lock them into the like the head there, and then make sure that you're getting each one in the right position and you're choosing the right one as well, which isn't helped by the fact that Tamiya's instructions in this regard, most un-Tamiya-like, it's got to be said, but they are I'm just calling up the instructions here a second. They are a little bit nebulous, I think is the best way of describing it. There we go. So I'm just covering parts up here. They are a little bit nebulous. Yeah, I think these days they would annotate this with different views. A bit like
I think these days, John, those would be tooled in such a way that there was no incorrect way of putting it together.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say, or there'd be some kind of jig or something. But yeah, getting a matching pair done and making sure that I'd got the pipes, especially when I'm slightly gluing them in place, and then two of them fall out, and then I'm trying to remember which one is which. So, but in theory, they should all now just lock into the. Lock into there like so. So yep. So that's probably the most difficult part of that aspect of the construction done. Then we've got the suspension units for the 8 wheels at the front, or the 4 wheels at the front rather. Those were fun. And it's at the moment it's just lots and lots and lots of sub-assemblies before we actually get to having something which actually looks like a car. But gotta be said, I am enjoying it immensely, absolutely enjoying it immensely. And because again, it's taking me out of my comfort zone, and this is a model I have wanted to build for years. The car I've wanted to build.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to build any car, it would be a P34. To be fair,
yeah.
But yeah, too much other stuff on the go.
Right.
It's an hour gone. I didn't realise we killed an hour already.
We have killed an hour already. Any other business?
Just as a backup there, Mike said So you mix the dental resin with CA like you would with talc. Yes, it's exactly the same process, Mike. The major difference is I still use talc and CA for some stuff because it sands so easily. This, when it dries, will dry quite a bit harder than talc does. It still sands beautifully, but it does require a bit more work. But for reinforcing things, it's just it's the best stuff I've ever used for reinforcing stuff. Whereas talc and CA will still tend to not have the strength for reinforcing things. Sands beautifully, and it's great. It's great as a filler. But go on YouTube and look at Paul Budzik, and look at his workshop stuff where he goes through using dental resins and stuff, because that's where I got all the information for using dental resins from. And he is the master of it, because he was using it in the 1980s in the fine scale modeler articles he was doing.
If you remember, do you remember the scratch built Catalina he did in 48?
Yes. Yeah. But he did a load of stuff like that, didn't he? And it's just, he was phenomenal.
Yep.
Phenomenal. And scratch built Tempest he did.
Sorry.
What was that?
No, you said phenomenal.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal. Sorry. You're welcome, people. You'll be now humming that for the rest of the night.
I know, absolutely. I'm just trying to find my any other business over the weekend was mostly sorting my veg patch out, oddly enough. I'm going to bore you all with pictures of my veg patch, because Dave Fleming was talking about. He said that he was watching. He was listening to us almost as a podcast whilst he's putting his cosmos out. So, well, you roll your eyes, Drew, but hang about. You didn't roll your eyes, but no, no, you didn't roll your eyes. I do apologise. Hopefully when you come up at some stage, that I'm looking forward to serving you one of these awesome potatoes. So there's the potato patch on the way, and then down the other end of the garden, that is the potato patch part deux. So those are my first earlies. Those are my main crop. They've gone a little bit out of kilter in terms of planting there, but never mind. That's Christmas dinner, essentially. So that's Brussels sprouts, carrots and chives. So there we go. And then you can see Derpy in the background on the path there. And there's my potatoes again. So yeah, so it's been a fun old day doing that. And what else did I put in today? I put in some extra carrots and God, come on, brain. It's been a long day. I didn't get much sleep last night, and yeah, you can tell, can't you? So
I'm not saying a word. Not getting involved.
Mike Fig says, how's Drew received his P51Bs yet?
No. Is a simple answer to that. I think they're in stock in a couple of places. Scale Model Shed doesn't appear to have got their stock yet, so I'm just waiting for them to get stock. So no, is the quick and simple answer to that.
Yeah, fair enough. On that note, I just want to say thank you to Drew for joining me tonight. Drew, we managed to have a show where I haven't had to use this graphic that I've prepared. You ready? But I am hoping at some stage we will get Mr. Pollard back on, because I want to do another very interesting quiz. So and also a reminder that we now, because of the way Facebook work these days, it used to be that you did a Facebook page and you could post on it and people could post on it, but then they split things up into pages and what's the other thing they call it? Pages and something else. I forget what it's called. Groups, pages and groups. So what we've had to do is we've had to create a public group so that so that people can actually post their own original content and material on there. So yeah, so anyway, if you go to Interesting Modeling Company, if you go to IntMod Co, the link is actually there at the top of our page. That's the public page where you can actually post and share your own material. So yeah, it's a really bizarre why Facebook changed it.
No doubt, another improvement intended to generate revenue through advertising.
I was just going to say, probably to generate revenue. So anyway, so on that note, just to say thank you to Drew, thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight, as I'm just about to lose my voice. Keep an eye out, because we might be doing some pop-up lives during the week as I carry on with my P34, carry on P34. There we go. That's a poster wanting to be made, isn't it? And yeah, and hopefully we'll all be back again next Sunday for another Sunday service. So until then, from myself and Drew, it's say thank you for watching. Stay safe.
Take it easy, guys. Catch you next time.
See you soon. Bye.